Hey, welcome back on the Good Morning Artesia radio show. And Superintendent John Ross Null is joining us here this morning. Good morning.
Hey, Gene, good morning.
Hey,
Thanks for having
it's almost time for school. You broke out the ties.
I broke out the ties on Monday. And yes, sir, it's that time of year. We're really excited to be just about a week away from kids coming back to school and having a first day of school with 3-year-olds through 12th graders getting to come to school with us. And so we're really excited about that. Last year at this time, we didn't have a single kid over the age of second grade that was on our campus the first day of school.
Right.
And honestly, we were one of the few districts in the state that started even with our kindergarten through second graders right off. And so anyway, we're just really excited about that opportunity for our kids and for our families and for our staff.
Sure.
Too.
Now, last week, the PED came out with the procedures, protocols, and you and your staff and have looked them all over, and now you've released a document, and it's on the bulldogs.org website. I'm going to pull it up on the screen
Sure,
so people can
absolutely,
look at that
yeah.
as well.
And it went out to everyone through our Remind app, and then those that we have email addresses for through our school messenger email system went out through email, and then also, of course, to our APS employees email address, just trying to get that information out there, and it is on our bulldogs.org website. And it essentially mirrors the public education department guidelines with just some, additional detail that's more specific to the Artesia Public Schools, and largely, Gene, with the exception of some mask requirements that we can certainly talk about, and surveillance testing requirements for staff and optional surveillance testing for students. Outside of those two things, it is largely school as we know school.
Okay.
There still are expectations to do some social distancing to the greatest extent possible, 3 feet, but much more latitude for districts for simply doing the best they can to keep their students and staff as safe as possible, and outside of that, just having school.
Well, and last year, through the pandemic and even during the summer months, the schools, Artesia schools, along with a lot of other districts in the state, invested a lot of money on HVAC systems, airflow, cleaning techniques. So all that is continuing.
All that's continuing, and really all of that was in place prior to the end of the school year, as far as when we're talking about the HEPA air scrubbing units that are in all of our classrooms and our locker rooms. We have had a couple of HVAC projects this summer at the high school and at Central Elementary, and a couple changes to those scopes of work were to make sure that those units could handle the MERV 13 filters that we learned about last year through the course of learning more about air filtration. But other than that, things have been in place. And actually, as I was walking out the door to come here, was at the office talking with our director of maintenance, talking about the sanitizing, what those expectations are as we go into this school year.
And just without taking the whole segment here, the face mask policy, what will be the face mask policy?
And we need to spend some time on that, Gene, because that is really what people are wondering about the most. And the Public Education Department guidelines are that at elementary campuses, so Grand Heights and our 5 elementary schools, Pennyasco up through the 5th grade, that those students and staff will wear face masks when they're indoors, not when they're outside. That is not an expectation nor a requirement, which is different than last year. Last year, kids that were on the playground were still expected to wear face masks, and so thankfully there is some relief for that when those kids are outside. At our secondary campuses, the guidelines are that those students or staff members that have provided proof of vaccination, being fully vaccinated for COVID, do not have to wear a face mask, while those that have not, or maybe they've been vaccinated but choose not to provide proof of that, will be required to wear face masks at our 3 secondary schools.
Okay.
And same deal when they're inside. Outside, that's not the case. As an example, last year, you might remember when cross country started up, there was quite a bit of debate about the fact that cross-country runners were having to wear masks while they're
When
out
they're
running cross-country.
running out in the country,
And
yeah.
of course, as I was coming here to the radio station, our cross-country kids are out there, 6 a.m. and still running when I was on the way here, and not having to wear masks while they're doing those things outdoors. And so those are the mask guidelines regarding surveillance testing for staff. Staff members that are not fully vaccinated, we've got to surveillance test 25% of those staff members a week, so essentially once a month. And students, we are encouraged to have 25% of student surveillance tested, but that really is going to be up to the families. It is optional. It's not mandatory. So in the guidance, there is a section regarding surveillance testing, and in the student section, it lets people know what the goal of the public education department is, but it also lets them know that that's an optional thing for families to consider if they would like to participate in that.
Now, the mask requirements you mentioned for the students and for the staff, what about parents or visitors to the schools, depending on which school that they go to?
Sure, that's a really good question, Dean. And so it's going to vary somewhat. So at a school site, if a visitor, a volunteer, a parent is going into a school site for a meeting, something like that, elementary schools, they'll be asked to wear a mask. Secondary schools, it'll be the same thing. If they choose to provide proof of vaccination, then they don't have to wear a mask, but if not, then they'll be asked to wear a mask. At ball games, as an example, indoors at a volleyball game, certainly the expectation, that's an indoor facility, so those that are not vaccinated are asked to wear a mask, but at the same time, we won't be checking cards at the door. That'll be
Well, that's good.
That'll be on the honor system. Yes.
That's good. And same thing on the outdoor, there's no mask requirement
That
on
is
the outdoor
correct.
events.
Correct.
So the soccer games or cross country, as you said.
Absolutely.
Or football.
Absolutely.
Won't be required on
Yeah,
that.
so that's really where we're at with that, and believe it or not, I've gotten some input
Okay.
on that.
I bet you have.
Over the last several days, and Gene, it is can be a very divisive issue, very polarizing, and I've gotten input from those that are very concerned that it's too strict, and gotten input from those that are very concerned that things are not strict enough.
strict
and
enough,
so that's
yeah.
why, as a school district and as a leader of this school district, I have to follow the public education department guidelines the best that we can right now, and focus. And my goal, and I'm kind of a broken record on it, but we're going to focus on the positive of having kids in school for in-person learning. All of our kids, that kids are fully participating in activities and athletics that they missed out on last year. And so we're going to try our best to focus on those things and empower those positive things and do the best we can with the other.
Now, we've seen in the last couple of days, UNM and NMSU have both indicated they're going to have a vaccination requirement for staff.
Yeah.
UNM is also extending it to students.
Right.
NMSU is still discussing that. What has been the discussion in, like, the Artesia School District or other school districts that you talk to superintendents?
So there is no the most recent word yesterday afternoon late from the public education department, because there's been some speculation whether or not something additional might come.
Right.
And the information late yesterday afternoon was, in their words, the toolkit stands for now, and so we'll be following this guidance as it's provided right now, but certainly no intentions of requiring vaccines for students or staff. I encourage students and families and staff to do the research themselves, look at the data themselves, and carefully consider it, and make the choice that they think is best for them as an individual or them as a family. But I do encourage them to take a close look at it.
Well, it'd be nice if the toolkit was the toolkit for, like, the school year, because then everybody can kind of adapt and adjust, and you're not worried that you open up your email in the morning and go, oh no, here's another adjustment.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that people are needing, longing for is some routine. And I know it is my hope that we get the school year started and we get in a groove and get rocking along with the things that we're accustomed to experiencing at school, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, we've got a couple minutes left.
Yeah,
There's some other things you'd like to share?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
something very important, and you've heard of the American Rescue Plan, the federal stimulus funding program, and so some of that did flow to school districts.
Okay.
And so we have been asking citizens, stakeholders, to provide us input on a survey that's gone out a couple of times, and that survey asks folks to really prioritize various things that these funds can be spent on. And so we've gotten about 700 responses, and honestly, I'd like to have about 7,000 responses. And we'll send out another reminder, and the survey is also on our website. But just kind of as a little recap of where we're at right now as far as the responses that we've gotten, where priority seems to be lying is first with the social and emotional and mental health support for all students. Secondly, programs and resources to retain and recruit high quality teachers and staff. Third, training of teachers to address student learning gaps while continuing to teach grade level skills. And then fourth, providing students with disabilities and at-risk students various services that were disrupted due to COVID-19. And there are a few others, but those the top 4 responses that we've gotten so far. So our intentions will be to take that feedback and then look more specifically within those broader topics to use those funds wisely. And so we just invite people to complete the survey if they haven't already done so. Also, at our board meeting coming up Monday night at 6, there will be an agenda item where we are asking for feedback on the American Rescue Plan funds. Our application to federal government is due August the 24th, and so we'll be working through that and wrapping that up in the coming weeks. But appreciate folks considering filling that out for us.
And as you said, if they haven't gotten it or gotten the link or the remind notification, if they just go to bulldogs.org, and it's the big green box right below the reentry plan green box.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
they
yeah.
can click there and then fill out the survey
Absolutely,
there.
and it
do that.
doesn't take too long. Hopefully, it's really straightforward, and so we appreciate people considering doing that.
All right. Anything else?
We're good, Gene.
All right.
Thank you.
Good luck with the first day of school
Hey, you
coming
bet.
up. All right.
Appreciate it.